The heir who refused his inheritance. Jamal Williams was born with everything: money, fame, and a life that millions could only dream of. As the only son of Jonathan Williams, the founder of the massive Williams Group financial empire, he could have lived a life of luxury without ever worrying about his future. But from a young age, Jamal understood that things weren't that simple. "I don't want you to live your life relying on the family's wealth," Jonathan would often remind him. "If you want to understand the value of money, you have to earn it yourself." Jamal vividly remembered the first time he heard those words. It was on his 10th birthday. While other kids his age received expensive toys as gifts, Jamal opened his present from his father and found a blank check. "Dad, what is this?" Jamal asked, his face full of confusion. Jonathan sat beside him, his gaze both serious and affectionate. "You can write any amount on that check. $1 million? 10 million? There's no limit, but if you do, I won't give you another dime. Or you can leave that check blank and learn to make money from scratch. I will always support you, but I want you to understand that money doesn't come easily, and it doesn't define your worth." Jamal stared at the check for a long time. He didn't fully understand the deeper meaning behind his father's words, but somehow he knew he didn't want to fill in that check. From that day on, he made a decision. He would not live his life as a spoiled billionaire's son, a childhood unlike any other. While his wealthy peers were chauffeured to school in Rolls-Royces, Jamal took the public bus. When other rich kids dined in Michelin-starred restaurants, he helped his mother cook dinners at home, even though their mansion had an entire team of private chefs. Jonathan never forbade him from spending money, but he never handed it to him easily either. If Jamal wanted to buy something, he had to earn it. He mowed lawns, cleaned it up around the house, and even washed his father's Bentley just to earn a few bucks. As a child, he thought it was just a game, but as he grew older, he began to realize his father was teaching him self-reliance and the value of hard work. His friends often teased him, "Jamal, you're a billionaire's son. Why are you working so hard? Why not just enjoy life?" He simply smiled, "Because I want to have something I earned myself." His first jobs, at 16 years old, Jamal started working real jobs, not at his father's company, but at the most ordinary jobs a teenager could get: warehouse labor. Every day he lifted heavy boxes until his back ached. In the beginning, he almost wanted to quit, but remembering his father's words, he gritted his teeth and endured. Delivery boy. Under the scorching summer sun, he rode his bike through the streets, delivering pizzas. Every time a customer tipped him even just $1, he felt like he had won a jackpot. Waiter at a cafe. He learned to handle impatient customers, memorizing orders without writing them down. Intern at an auto repair garage. This was his favorite job. With his hands covered in grease, he felt the heartbeat of the engines and the roar of the machines. He wasn't just earning money, he was learning to love and understand cars. At first, his colleagues in the garage doubted him. They thought he was just a rich kid playing around for fun. But over time, they saw that he wasn't afraid to get dirty. He wasn't afraid to work hard. Shaping his character. 2 years passed, and Jamal had done nearly every kind of job an average teenager could do. He never told anyone he was a billionaire's son, nor did he use his name to get special treatment. Every time he received a paycheck, no matter how small, he felt proud, because it was money he had earned himself, not money from his father's inheritance. One day, Jonathan asked him, "Do you regret not using that blank check I gave you on your 10th birthday?" Jamal smiled and shook his head. "No, Dad, because now I have something even more valuable than money. I know how to earn it." The dinner he had been waiting for after 2 years of hard work, from lifting boxes, delivering orders, waiting tables, and working at a garage, Jamal finally saved enough money to buy his first car. Not a luxury supercar, but a car that he could afford with his own earnings. That morning, he woke up earlier than usual. As he checked his savings account, his heart pounded with excitement. He had planned carefully, researched the perfect car, and today, he was going to make it a reality. Grabbing his phone and gimbal, he stepped outside, ready to document one of the most important moments of his life. This is a day I'll never forget. A dream within reach, the screech of bicycle brakes echoed softly as Jamal came to a stop in front of Thunder Motors, the luxury car showroom he had dreamed of for the past 2 years. He lifted his head, staring at the sleek, modern building, its glass facade reflecting the afternoon sun. Inside, rows of pristine cars gleamed under sophisticated LED lights. Jamal pressed his lips together, suppressing the excitement welling up inside him. "I've worked tirelessly for 2 years for this moment. Today, I'm stepping into this showroom not just to admire, but to buy my first ever car. He pulled out his phone, switched on the camera, mounted it on the gimbal, and started recording. Hey everyone, today is a huge day. After 2 years of hard work, I finally have enough money to buy my first car. Let's check out this showroom together. He took a deep breath, adjusted his hoodie, and pushed the glass doors open. Being welcomed like a customer, a blast of cool air-conditioned air swept over him, carrying the distinct scent of leather and fresh metal. Inside, the showroom was immaculate. Luxury vehicles lined up like works of art, their polished surfaces reflecting the bright showroom lights. Employees in tailored suits engaged with wealthy-looking customers, discussing specifications and financing plans. Just as Jamal stepped in, a middle-aged man in a sleek black suit approached him with a welcoming smile. Welcome to Thunder Motors. I'm Michael, a sales consultant here. How can I assist you today? Jamal shook his hand firmly, but his eyes were locked on the cars ahead. Hey, nice to meet you. I'm here to buy a car. Michael raised his eyebrows slightly, clearly surprised by Jamal's confidence, but he maintained his professional demeanor. That's fantastic. Do you have a specific model in mind, or would you like some recommendations? Jamal shook his head, his eyes gleaming with excitement like a kid in a candy store. I want to experience all of them for myself. I've done my research, but I need to feel them before making my decision. Michael chuckled, patting Jamal on the shoulder. I love that enthusiasm, a true car buyer with a racer's spirit. All right then, take your time exploring. If you need any details, I'll be right here. Jamal nodded gratefully, flashed a smile, and dived into his automotive wonderland. The car enthusiast, in the first signs of discomfort, Jamal headed straight for the Thunder X5, a powerful SUV with an aggressive stance. This is the Thunder X5, a solid SUV. 3.5L V6 engine pushing out 375 horsepower, adaptive suspension, and an off-road mode that's smooth as butter. But honestly, I don't think I need a high-riding vehicle right now. He ran his fingers along the body, feeling the cool, polished surface, then reached for the door handle. Locked. Weird. Usually showroom cars are left unlocked for customers to explore. Brushing it off, he moved to the next one, a Thunder Elegance, a high-end luxury sedan. Wow, this design is immaculate. 2.0L hybrid engine, fuel efficiency at just 6L per 100 kilometers, premium leather seats, 15-inch infotainment screen, but the dashboard design feels a bit outdated for this price range. He tried the door handle. Locked. This time, Jamal paused. 2 locked doors in a row. Meanwhile, other customers are opening their cars freely. Not wanting to jump to conclusions, he pushed forward towards the centerpiece of the showroom, the Thunder X7, the car he had dreamed of for months. Here it is, the Thunder X7, one of the best sports coupes in its class. Twin-turbo 3.0L V6 engine, 450 horsepower, dual-clutch transmission, 0-60 mph in just 3.8 seconds. This is it. This is my car. He knelt down to inspect the tires, then ran his hand along the sculpted bodywork. Touching it feels even better than I imagined. Jamal reached for the door handle, heart pounding. Locked. He sighed, now certain that something was off. What the hell is going on? Just as he was about to turn to Michael to ask, a sharp, irritated voice rang out behind him. Prejudice reveals itself. Sarah Matthews, another saleswoman, had been watching Jamal ever since he walked in. She saw a young black man in a hoodie, ripped jeans, sneakers, and holding a camera. Another wannabe influencer pretending to buy a car just for clout. With an annoyed sigh, she strode toward him, arms crossed, tone laced with impatience. What do you think you're doing? Jamal blinked in confusion, turning to face her. I'm checking out the car. I want to buy the Thunder X7. Sarah raised an eyebrow, looking him up and down. The Thunder X7? This car costs over $80,000, and you think you can afford it? Jamal stiffened, his excitement flickering into irritation. What exactly do you mean by that? Sarah let out a sarcastic chuckle, shaking her head. Look at you. Hoodie, jeans, sneakers, carrying a camera. I've seen your type before. You come in here, film a fake car buying experience, and leave without spending a dime. So why don't we cut the act? Jamal felt a surge of anger rising in his chest. I've spent 2 years working to save up for this car. I can pay for it today, in full. Sarah snorted, rolling her eyes. Right. And I suppose next, You'll tell me you've got a private jet parked outside? Listen, kid, if you really had the money, you wouldn't be dressed like this. And you sure as hell wouldn't be riding a bike. Jamal's jaw clenched. So you're judging me based on my clothes? My appearance? Sarah shrugged nonchalantly. I'm just being realistic. If you actually have money, prove it. Otherwise, stop wasting my time and leave. Jamal took a deep breath, fists clenched. This wasn't just disrespect, it was outright discrimination. Just as he was about to respond, a deep, authoritative voice cut through the tension from the entrance. He does have the money, and if this is how you treat paying customers, then you don't deserve to be working here. Sarah froze, her face draining of color as she slowly turned around. Standing at the entrance was none other than Jonathan Williams, billionaire, CEO of Williams Group, and Jamal's father. The heavy silence. The storm is coming. The Thunder Motors showroom fell into dead silence. All eyes turned toward the entrance, where a tall, imposing man with an aura of power had just stepped inside. Jonathan Williams, billionaire CEO of Williams Group, one of the largest financial corporations in the United States, and Jamal's father. His steady, deliberate steps echoed through the showroom, and his piercing gaze sliced through the air like a blade. The atmosphere was thick with tension, as if every employee could feel that something monumental was about to happen. Sarah turned pale, a cold shiver running down her spine. Her mouth hung open, desperately trying to find words to explain herself, but each syllable felt ridiculous and hollow. Mr. Williams, I didn't know. I didn't mean... Her voice trembled, her usual confidence and arrogance had vanished completely. Jonathan didn't even look at her. Instead, he walked straight to Jamal, placing a firm hand on his son's shoulder, his gaze filled with pride and unwavering support. Jamal, you've worked hard to earn this car, but clearly, this is not a place worthy of your money. His deep yet sharp voice cut through the silence like a verdict, and Sarah visibly flinched as if she had been struck. Desperate justifications. The complete collapse. Sarah was panicking, her throat tightening, as she frantically searched for a way out of this disaster. She took a shaky breath, trying to regain composure, but her voice wavered uncontrollably. I didn't mean it that way. I was just trying to ensure that our customers were serious about purchasing. Jonathan raised an eyebrow, his tone as cold as ice. Really? And how exactly did you determine that? By locking all the car doors the moment a young black man walked in? By insulting and dismissing a paying customer simply because he didn't look like someone who could afford a car? Is this what Thunder Motors calls customer service? Sarah froze, her hands clenched so tightly that her nails dug into her palms, her face drained of all color. I didn't intend to offend him. I just wasn't sure if... Jonathan let out a cold chuckle, his stare burning through her like a spotlight exposing a lie. Not sure. Did you ask my son about his financial situation? Did you give him a chance to prove himself? Or did you just take one look at his skin color, his hoodie, and decide he wasn't worth your time? Sarah swallowed hard, beads of sweat forming on her forehead. The other showroom employees stood frozen. No one dared to intervene. A few customers nearby whispered to each other, their disdain for Sarah evident. This is how they treat customers? How many people have they judged like this just because of how they look? The murmurs only made Sarah tremble more. She glanced toward her manager, hoping for help, but he simply stared at her with sheer disappointment, the manager's desperate apology. The showroom manager, Richard Carter, quickly stepped forward, his face pale with anxiety. Mr. Williams, I sincerely apologize for this misunderstanding. Jonathan glanced at him briefly, his eyes filled with nothing but disappointment. Misunderstanding? She humiliated my son in front of an entire showroom. This is not a misunderstanding. This is blatant discrimination. Richard swallowed nervously, trying to keep his composure, but it was clear that he was shaking. I assure you I will take immediate action. I hope you can overlook this incident. Jonathan let out a quiet, disdainful laugh. You think a simple apology can undo what just happened? A company as large as Thunder Motors, yet you allow your employees to discriminate against customers right in front of everyone? No, Mr. Carter, I cannot overlook this. Sarah stood stiffly, feeling like her entire world was crumbling around her. I'm sorry, I didn't think... Jonathan raised a hand, silencing her. I don't care about your apology. What matters is that today, Thunder Motors has lost not just a customer, but its reputation. Richard took a shaky breath, his voice nearly breaking. Mr. Williams, please don't do this. If you leave and go public with this, Thunder Motors' reputation will suffer greatly. Jonathan calmly turned away, his voice carrying a finality that left no room for negotiation. You should have thought about that before allowing your employees to behave this way. The perfect revenge, a powerful exit. Jonathan turned to Jamal, his gaze filled with pride. Let's go, son. This place is not worthy of you. Jamal nodded, his heart swelling with warmth. He had worked so hard to earn respect, but in the end, his appearance was judged before his worth. He tightened his grip on his father's hand, and together they turned and walked out of the showroom. But they did not leave empty-handed. As they reached the entrance, Jonathan paused, then turned back toward the reception desk. We will buy a car, but not from here. The two of them walked straight into Titan Auto, Thunder Motors' biggest competitor, just next door. Sarah felt the blood drain from her face, her legs trembling so much she nearly collapsed. She looked desperately at her manager, but he only shook his head in sheer disappointment. The showroom remained silent as a graveyard. No one spoke. No one dared to. And that was the moment Thunder Motors realized. They had just made an irreversible mistake. A different world. A true welcome. The atmosphere inside Titan Auto was completely different. No scrutinizing stares. No skepticism. No judgments based on clothing or skin color. Only a warm welcome and genuine respect for the customer. As soon as Jonathan and Jamal stepped inside, a sales associate quickly approached, flashing a friendly smile and professional demeanor. Welcome, my name is Mark, a sales consultant here at Titan Auto. How can I assist you today? No looks of disdain, no hesitant glances, just pure professionalism. Jonathan smirked slightly, his gaze filled with approval. He turned to Jamal and placed a firm yet reassuring hand on his son's shoulder. Son, today you won't just be buying a car. Jamal blinked, curiosity piqued. What do you mean, Dad? Jonathan slowly turned toward Mark, his eyes carrying a quiet authority, his smirk now a knowing smile. We'd like to see the best models you have, and I will be paying in full. No financing, no credit checks, no installments. Mark was momentarily stunned, but then his expression shifted to excitement and enthusiasm. That's fantastic. Please follow me. I'll show you Titan Auto's finest high-performance and luxury models. Jamal felt his heart beat faster, not just because of the car, but because he was finally being treated like a real customer. He followed Mark deeper into the showroom, excitement bubbling inside him. Not just for the car he was about to buy, but for the vindication that Titan Auto valued customers like him. The revenge that broke Thunder Motors. Back inside Thunder Motors, the tension was palpable. A group of employees stood near the large glass windows, eyes fixed anxiously on the scene unfolding across the street. One sales associate rubbed his eyes as if trying to make sure he wasn't hallucinating. Oh my God, they just walked into Titan Auto. Another associate rushed over, his face full of worry as he saw Jonathan and Jamal being treated like VIPs. No way. They're being shown the most premium cars. Don't tell me they're actually going to... At the front desk, Sarah Matthews stood frozen, her hands trembling, a cold sweat forming on her forehead. She could feel panic rising in her chest. No, this can't be happening. This isn't real. But her nightmare was far from over. Just then, the doors of Titan Auto swung open, and a sales associate emerged holding a large sign. He calmly walked to the sidewalk, placing the sign directly in front of Titan Auto's windows, facing Thunder Motors like a public declaration. The sign read, "Thank you, Thunder Motors, for sending us another VIP customer. At Titan Auto, we value every customer without discrimination." The humiliation hit Thunder Motors like a tidal wave. Sarah felt her stomach drop. She staggered back, eyes wide in shock, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. All around her, employees whispered among themselves, their expressions a mix of disbelief and contempt. She just drove away a VIP client. Thunder Motors is going to regret this. Sarah felt like the walls were closing in on her. I destroyed everything with my own hands. She gripped the edge of the desk, her breath shallow, but there was nothing she could do to undo what had been done. Signing the contract and the new car. Inside Titan Auto, Jamal was completely sold after test driving the Titan Viper, one of the best sports cars in the showroom. He turned to his father, his voice filled with excitement, but also hesitation. Dad, I want to buy it, but the price, it's more than what I've saved up. Jonathan chuckled softly, his eyes full of pride. You've worked hard, son. You deserve the best. Consider this a reward for your dedication. Jamal's jaw dropped, struggling to process what he just heard. "Are you serious, Dad?" "Of course." Jonathan nodded, his voice steady. "And it's also a message to Thunder Motors. Our money will only go to those who truly respect their customers." Jamal clenched his fist for a moment, then broke into a wide, grateful smile. The contract was swiftly signed. A Titan Auto sales representative handed the keys to Jamal with a genuine smile, his eyes full of respect. "Congratulations! The Titan Viper, a supercar for someone truly deserving." Jamal gripped the keys tightly, knowing that this wasn't just about a car. This was victory. This was proving his worth not through words but through action. This was the ultimate response to those who doubted him. As he stepped into the driver's seat, his hands gripped the steering wheel firmly, feeling the power beneath his fingertips. Jonathan watched from the passenger seat, smiling. "This isn't just a car, Jamal. It's proof of what you can achieve." Jamal nodded, his eyes reflecting determination and triumph. "And this is just the beginning." He pressed the start button, and the Titan Viper's engine roared to life, its power echoing through the showroom. Jamal glanced at the rearview mirror, seeing the Titan Auto team waving him off with smiles. Then he turned his gaze toward Thunder Motors. It was just a shadow in the distance now. He stepped on the va, and the Titan Viper shot forward like lightning, leaving Thunder Motors and all its prejudice in the dust. The video that changed everything. Right after leaving Titan Auto, Jamal pulled his car over to the side of the road. His hands were still gripping the steering wheel tightly, his pulse racing from everything that had just happened. He closed his eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath to steady himself. Then he reached for his phone, mounted it on the holder, and hit record. The camera turned on, showing Jamal's face. His expression was a mix of raw emotion and barely restrained anger. "Hey everyone, I just had an experience today that I still can't believe happened." He paused for a second as if still processing the events of the past few hours. "I walked into Thunder Motors today to buy a car. Not with my dad's money, not with anyone else's money, but with the money I've worked hard to save for the past 2 years." Jamal clenched his jaw, his eyes darkening as he recalled the way Sarah Matthews had treated him. "But guess what? The moment I walked in, a saleswoman judged me, not based on what I said, not based on what I could afford, but based on how I looked. She locked every single car door. She assumed, just by looking at me, that I wasn't worth her time." His fists tightened on the steering wheel. "She mocked me, laughed at me, and straight up told me that a black guy like me couldn't afford to buy a car. She didn't know how hard I worked. She didn't know that I spent 2 years doing every job I could just to stand there today and buy my first car. She didn't know anything about me, but she thought she had the right to decide my worth in just one glance." Jamal inhaled deeply, trying to suppress the rage burning inside him. "But instead of arguing, I walked away. Because a place that doesn't respect its customers doesn't deserve their business. So I went to Titan Auto instead, a place that treated me like a real customer." Jamal lifted the Titan Viper key fob, his eyes shining with pride. "And guess what? I bought a Titan Viper. Better, faster, and more worth it than anything I could have gotten at Thunder Motors." He turned the camera to capture a full view of the car, then zoomed in on the roaring engine. Its powerful sound, a clear, undeniable statement. As soon as the video was done, Jamal uploaded it across all platforms: TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, with the title, "Why I Walked Out of Thunder Motors and Bought from Titan Auto. The Truth About Customer Service." Within hours, the video exploded, racking up millions of views and sparking a firestorm online. Public outrage erupts. The internet erupted in fury. Tens of thousands of comments poured in under Jamal's video, and people were outraged. "Are you kidding me? This still happens in 2020? This is blatant racism, plain and simple. Disgusting. I was considering buying from Thunder Motors, but after this, never again." Titan Auto didn't just sell a car, they earned lifelong customers today. On Twitter, the hashtag #boycott Thunder Motors skyrocketed to the #1 trending topic. People began sharing their own experiences of racial discrimination in high-end retail and car dealerships, fueling the growing firestorm. Facebook groups, Reddit forums, and online communities blew up with discussions calling for a complete boycott of Thunder Motors. Activists and influencers amplified the outrage, demanding that the company be held accountable. The pressure was building, and fast. The media joins the fight. Thunder Motors in crisis. By the next morning, the story had gone mainstream. Major news outlets ran headlines covering the controversy. CNN, Thunder Motors faces backlash after racial discrimination scandal. BBC, Jamal Williams' viral video exposes racial bias in high-end car sales. Forbes, Titan Auto becomes a model for inclusivity following Thunder Motors' PR disaster. Thunder Motors executives panicked. An emergency board meeting was called to figure out how to contain the situation. Under immense public pressure, the company was forced to release an official apology statement. "We deeply regret the incident that occurred at our dealership. Thunder Motors stands firmly against all forms of discrimination and has launched an internal investigation. We sincerely apologize to the affected customer and are taking immediate steps to ensure this does not happen again." But no one was buying it. The collapse of Thunder Motors, the damage was done. Thousands of customers canceled their orders. Sales plummeted within a single week. Thunder Motors stock took a massive hit in the market. Faced with relentless backlash, the company had no choice but to fire Sarah Matthews immediately. Headlines flooded the news. Thunder Motors terminates employee at center of discrimination controversy. But even that wasn't enough. Thunder Motors lost more than just money, they lost their reputation. Meanwhile, Titan Auto emerged as the industry's new golden standard. Customers flocked to their dealerships. Sales soared, especially for the Titan Viper, which became the best-selling car of the month, all thanks to Jamal's story. While Thunder Motors scrambled to salvage their name, Titan Auto was celebrating their biggest sales surge in history. Jamal's victory. Jamal sat in the driver's seat of his Titan Viper, looking out at the world beyond the windshield. He had done more than buy a car today. He had proven his worth, not with words, not with arguments, but with action. His phone buzzed, a notification, a message from a stranger. "Thank you for speaking up. Because of you, I won't let anyone treat me like I'm less than I am ever again." Jamal smiled, gripping the steering wheel tightly. Jonathan glanced at his son, pride evident in his eyes. "Son, today you didn't just buy a car. You changed how the world sees people like you." Jamal nodded, determination burning in his gaze. And this is just the beginning. He pressed down on the accelerator. The Titan Viper roared to life, surging forward with unstoppable power, leaving Thunder Motors and all its prejudice in the dust.